Hey everyone, it's your girl CB at another do-it-yourself video. For those of you who are new here, CB stands for Cali Breeze. Keep watching if you want to see how I did this so you can follow along. Hey guys, for your first step, you're going to want to pick out your items that you're going to want to color black. These items that I picked out for myself are over 85% cotton. Cotton is more easily colored or bleached. So all of my items I tried to find have very high cotton content and are very easily colored. I just bunched some of my shirts together like you would as a regular tie-dye. So I did a swirl, and then I did an accordion, and then the other one is like a twist sort of situation where I just rolled it and pulled it like into a snake-like thing, and then used a rope to tie it together and rubber bands. For my color, I used Indian ink. This was left over from my high school years, which sounds like it's a long time ago, but it's actually really not that long ago. And I'm using Indian ink because I have it left over and I haven't used it. Because Indian ink is so high pigmented, it will stain your skin in any clothing you're wearing. So be sure to wear either clothing you don't care about or clothing that's also black and you don't want to stain. Don't forget to take off all your jewelry and watches, and to wear protective gloves over your skin so you don't stain your skin. If you're going to be doing it in your house, I would recommend your porcelain sink or a stainless steel sink or a porcelain tub, anything that's non-porous. Otherwise, I'd probably recommend doing it outside, especially if you live with someone that will be very upset if you get black color everywhere. After you have all your protective gear on, you will just open your bottle of whatever you're using, either black tie-dye ink or your Indian ink, whatever you're using. And if you're trying to minimize splashing, if you don't want it to look very messy, you're going to want to hold the bottle pretty close to the items, just so when it hits the items, it doesn't splash too much and doesn't go everywhere. If you've ever used Indian ink, you know how weird it smells. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend buying Indian ink if you're in a not very well ventilated area. You will definitely need to be in a very ventilated area with either a fan going or like an exhaust fan or a window open. Definitely having a steady breeze going by, because it's a very, very potent smell. And it kind of smells like, for those of you also in the art world, kind of reminds me of like tempera paint. I know tempera paint has eggs in it, I believe, and that's why it starts to smell kind of funny. But yeah, Indian ink definitely is not the best smelling. And as you can see, I'm using the items that I have that had backsplashed onto the sink, and I'm just using that cotton items to sort of wipe it up to give it a little bit more of a messy look. And just how the sweatshirt is like right now, that's not a very good look either. That is really weird picture now that I'm seeing that. Since Indian ink is also a higher viscosity, meaning that the liquid is a lot thicker than, say, water, it kind of sits on top of the items a little bit before it finally soaks in. So you can kind of see the lines of it soaking in and soaking throughout the items as it sits there. It's kind of deceiving like bleach. You can't really just put it in one spot without it soaking into the material around it, as well as it kind of running off the items. So I wouldn't recommend just dumping a lot at a time. I would say try to dump a little bit of the water or whatever you're using at a time if it's whatever you're using has a higher viscosity and doesn't soak in quite as fast when you're pouring it. After you've finished coloring your shirts, you're going to want to dry off the bottle with either a paper towel or with one of the shirts you were using, and then set the bottle somewhere where you won't worry about getting anything else dirty if the bottle still has a remnant of any colorant on it or anything left over from your gloves. And then I just let my items sit for a little bit just so that Indian ink can soak in a little bit better before I transfer my items from the sink to a plastic bag, which is where I'm going to transfer the items from my bathroom to where I will let them dry for close to 48 hours. I don't care about my items bleeding onto each other, so I'm just placing them all into one bag. But if you're a little bit more worried about bleeding, I would recommend placing each of your colored items into different separate bags just so they aren't mixing together. And then I go through with one of my other t-shirts or a paper towel, if that's all you're planning on doing. But I'm gonna do some more, so I'm just gonna go through with another shirt and I'm just gonna wipe up my porcelain sink a little bit just to get some of the remnants of the Indian ink onto the shirt, because the bottle's getting kind of low. It was at about half the bottle when I started and I was just sort of freely dumping everywhere. So now it's down to about a quarter of a bottle and I still have a few items I had to finish. So I decided to be a little recyclable and just use my shirt as like a clean rag to clean up the sink. As you can tell, I have hard water where I'm at, so there is some water residue buildup that the Indian ink is sticking to around my sink. But don't worry, when I cleaned my sink, I was able to scrub the water residue and that was stained with the Indian ink off of my sink. So now it's clean as new. So don't you worry if you guys have the same problem. I did everything pretty typical until it got to this sweatshirt. I had enough Indian ink, I thought, all the way up until I got to the sweatshirt, and then I ran out, which I figure would probably have happened sooner or later during this project because I had quite a few items that I was going to be Indian inking. So I decided with this one to use a bleach also, to where I sprayed little bits of bleach all over, even on spots that I Indian inked, just to see how it came out. If you continue watching, I will show you the outfits of most of the clothing that I have paired together with some sort of pant or jean for your guys' watching pleasure. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below which outfit or which item that I did is your guys' favorite. Please, please, please be kind to one another and have a blessed next week. I love you all. Have a great week. Be kind to one another.